you how happy I am to be back in Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee. I grew up on the south side. We lived near Pulaski High School and Leon's frozen custard. And then we moved over to Greendale, and now we're by Cobb's frozen custard, which is also always the big competition. I get picked up at the airport, and we have to go to both Cobb's and Leon's to do that taste test, which is why I'm wearing my girdle tonight. I want to thank all of you with the Milwaukee County Parks for bringing me here tonight. This is such a great reunion. I have friends here from Greendale. I have my family, my mom and dad, Ed and Evelyn Kaczmarek, and my Aunt Ruthie, my cousins. I have Miss Raymond, my second grade teacher, is here, who I remember so fondly as the teacher who was teaching us when John Kennedy was shot, which is not a very happy memory, but certainly is an outstanding one. Mike Brady, an old family friend, the Bradys. We used to vacation with them, and they were great friends. My parents' college friends, Mel Langer and her husband are here. The Parkers, our neighbors, the Parker family, who I know is very, works a lot with the park people, so I'm happy about that. But most importantly, when I say that I am here tonight because of the Milwaukee County Parks, I mean I am here tonight because of the Milwaukee County Parks. In 1948, my dad, Ed Kaczmarek, was a lifeguard at Jackson Park. Do you know where this is going? So Ed Kaczmarek is a lifeguard at Jackson Park in 1948, and this sly boots named Ruth Grigorski was working at the boathouse, and she thought that her sister Evelyn Grigorski, who had the illustrious job of checking toes at Jackson Park. Now, how many remember having your toes checked before you could go in the swimming pool? I don't know if it was ringworm or athlete's foot or what in the heck they were checking for. But when I was a kid growing up, and even before I was a kid, when I was a twinkle in my father's eye, toes had to be checked before you went into a swimming pool. And that was my mother's job. Evelyn Grigorski, through her sister's guidance, Ruth Grigorski, introduced my mother to Ed Kaczmarek, the lifeguard at Jackson Park. So, when I say I'm here because of the Milwaukee County Parks, I mean I'm here because of the Milwaukee County Parks. My parents married, and then they moved into the Jackson Park area, which was a beautiful, Tony neighborhood. They moved in with my grandparents on South 45th Street, which was something a lot of young couples did until they raised enough money to buy a house on their own. In 1957, my mother was in the hospital giving birth to my sister Mary, and my father took me, I was a year and a half, and my brother Jimmy, out on a rowboat on the lagoon at Jackson Park. And I'm sure he was rowing around on this beautiful May day thinking about his wife and their third baby that was being born. And when he turned around and looked, I was no longer in the boat. It seems we Polish girls had a low center of gravity even as toddlers. I fell out of the boat and sunk to the bottom of the lagoon. And at a year and a half, in my little yellow sunsuit, my father, being the lifeguard he is, he still swims at the Zablocki Pool at 16th and Cleveland every Monday. My father whipped off his shoes and dove in and picked me up on the bottom of the lagoon at Jackson Park and said that if it weren't for the little yellow sunsuit I was wearing that reflected the light, I would have been a goner. And I think my father would have been a goner when he told my mother that he lost one of her children in the lagoon when she was giving birth to another one. But I'm always grateful, and this is where Jackson Park begins in my life. You've been talking a lot about Bradford Beach, but for me and my cousins and my family, Jackson Park is the center of so many happy family memories. Most important in Jackson Park when I was growing was the 4th of July Association and the 4th of July parades. We would decorate our tricycles, our bicycles, our buggies, our coaster wagons as we called them, in bunting and crepe paper and flags, and we would be in that parade at Jackson Park. Shortly after that, we would receive these little cups of ice cream with a wooden spoon. Remember, you'd always get that at the end of the parade? Still do! I'm coming back. And the very special thing about the ice cream was that my grandfather, Judge Frank Grigorski, was the president of the 4th of July Association at Jackson Park, so we got all the extra ice cream. Now, my mother was a little upset when I was going to share this memory with you, because she wanted everyone to know that there was nothing unscrupulous about this, that it was the leftover ice cream and that we children would benefit in that. We would go to Jackson Park for the day on the 4th of July. We would watch the talent show. We would watch the Polish dancers. We would watch the hobby show, where I once entered my rather pedestrian rock collection and won first place. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that it was probably because my grandfather was the president of the 4th of July Association that I won first prize for that rock collection. But in the evenings came the fireworks, and we would go to Jackson Park, often in our ski parkas because it was so cold. And my cousins, Sherry and Lenny, are with me tonight, and their husbands, but we would lay on that grass in Jackson Park and we would watch those fireworks. And it was everything. The 4th of July at Jackson Park was everything. Also, I was a baton twirler. Bet you didn't know that, did you? I was a baton twirler. I was a candette. And there were so many great parades growing up in the 60s. We marched, I marched as a candette, and I remember especially the South Shore Music Frolic in Bayview, which was a great, great parade and a big musical festival in Bayview. My children went skating yesterday at Wilson Park. My cousin Linny asked everybody to close their eyes and remember the park that they made out in when they were in high school. She's going to kill me for saying that. By this time, my family had moved to Greendale, and we were right in the Root River Parkway, very near Root River Parkway and Whitnall Park. And going to the Botanical Gardens was a real favorite. My parents are great gardeners, and the Botanical Gardens to this day are a favorite place for our family to go. The Mitchell Park domes, which I'm so excited. Sue just told me that they had been renovated. I didn't know this. Oh no, what were you thinking? Organic vodka. Next time we'll go to the domes. And Humboldt Park, the band shell at Humboldt Park, which was the scene of my choirs from Greendale sang there. We performed plays there. But to this day, one of my favorite summer memories is listening to the Braves or the Brewers on the car radio and driving home from a band concert at Humboldt Park. Something just said, happy, safe summer memories when you were in a car with the Braves on the radio coming back from Humboldt Park. Next page. So I just want to share with you one of my favorite sayings, which is that we sit in the shade of trees planted long ago. We sit in the shade of trees planted long ago, which is oftentimes a metaphor for other kind of philanthropy, but in the case of the Milwaukee County Parks, it's a truism. Because of my grandparents' generosity, my grandparents Frank and Francis Grigorski, who were born here, but my father's parents, Aniela and Stefan Kaczmarek, who came from Poland. Because of my grandparents' hard work and foresight, and because of city planners in this great city of Milwaukee, I was able to really grow up and blossom in the beauty that is the parks of this city. And I would like to roll up my sleeves and continue the planting and donate this check in my grandparents' name to the Milwaukee County Parks, and urge all of you, when it comes time to writing a check or rolling up your sleeves and picking up a shovel, make the Milwaukee County Parks a real destination and a real part of your heart. And my children will thank you, and my grandchildren will thank you, and my grandparents from Poland will thank you. So thank you for having me with you today.